And all right. Hello, people out there in podcast world and those on Facebook Live. How's everybody doing today? Can you say hey?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining in.
Yeah, here we are back with another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me.
Ooh.
We got some real serious information to talk about today with our special guest. And we are back from vacation. And we had a ball.
And ready to work.
And ready to work.
There you
All
go.
right, Wanda. We're going to read your bio, and then we're going to jump right in here and ask these questions and let you tell this story.
Okay, works for me.
All right. Let us welcome today Dr. Wanda Whitten-Shurney. She is currently the CEO and medical director for the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America, Michigan chapter, which serves as the coordinating center for the Michigan newborn. Here's my favorite word: hemoglobinopathy.
Okay, let me give you a little taste of help. Okay, let's say hemoglobinopathy, but then let's just
Hemoglobinopathy.
say blood disorders. Let's say that.
All right.
Okay.
I love that too.
All right.
Hemoglobinopathy.
Hemo.
Hemoglobinopathy. Hemoglobinopathy.
Okay, that we'll
There we
let
go.
that pass.
Yeah,
I just love that word though. Screening program. Like you said, it's a blood disorder.
Right.
Blood disease. She is a pediatrician at the Comprehensive Sickle Cell Clinic at Children's Hospital of Michigan, where she has provided compassionate care for children with sickle cell disease for the past 30 years. She served on the National Heart Lung Blood Institute Research Advisory Committee from 2016 to 2020 and currently serves on the Medical and Research Advisory Committee for the National SCDAA. Dr. Whitten-Shurney has a particular interest in patient education and providing coping strategies for families. She was exposed early to the sickle cell movement as her father, Dr. Charles F. Whitten, co-founded the National Association for Sickle Cell Disease. One of the highlights of her career was presenting Dr. Charles F. Whitten lecture at the National SDAA meeting in 2007 with her father in the audience. Dr. Whitten-Shurney, a product of the Detroit Public School System, won first prize for her project on sickle cell disease at the Durfee Junior High School Science Fair. Boy, this was in your blood.
Yes, it was.
She completed her undergraduate work at the University of Michigan and attended medical school of Howard University. She received her pediatric residency training in Children's Hospital of Michigan and spent a year in her hematology oncology fellowship. Dr. Whitten-Shurney is the mother of two children, Cameron, 29, and Simone, 32. She enjoys networking at the sickle cell conferences, movies, traveling, and ballroom dancing. All right, I like all that.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
I am so happy to be here.
Right, and we are so glad to have you.
Oh, special, special, special. I
Right,
love it.
right. You got a lot going on here, but
I
you know, you know what though? I'm gonna say this: proud product of Detroit Public School System, but you didn't put down your high school,
Oh Lord, the one and only,
the one and only,
Oh, no.
second, second to none.
second to none. Hashtag 75.
That's right.
All
That's right.
right.
I was on the cheer team.
That's right. And
That was
and
my claim to fame.
All right.
I'll tell you this: we didn't know each other.
When did you graduate?
In '76 with Craig.
Oh, okay. Okay. Craig told me that. Okay. So
Yeah.
then I just have to go one step further and say that my daughter graduated in '07 and she was a valedictorian, and my
All right.
son graduated in 2010.
All right.
Wow, from Cass Tech. All
From
right.
Cass Tech. We don't
Yeah.
Oh,
play.
man.
That's right. Our son came out in 2002.
Okay. All
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. So there we go.
Mhm.
Okay. So now let's just jump in this because you got a lot of good stuff you want to tell us about. And so sickle cell.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning. How did you even get introduced to it?
Well, I got introduced to it, of course, by my father.
Right.
Okay. So there was always My mother served on the International Board for Planned Parenthood, and my father was involved in sickle cell. So there were always information about birth control from my mother and all this stuff about sickle cell,
Right.
And then I decided I'm going to do this project, for the science fair, And so
Right.
I had a little microscope, and I had the slide with the blood, with the sickle cells, and people would come by and ask me questions because I think that they probably thought that my father did all the work,
Right,
but I
right.
did all the work and I knew the answers to all the questions. So I therefore won first prize,
Wonderful.
People would always ask me, "You're gonna be a doctor like your father, right?" And I said, "Oh no, I don't want to be a doctor." But I swear to goodness, I went to University of Michigan. I was a math major. I took calculus and analytic geometry, and that was the end of being a math major. It's like, nope, can't do that. And it just feels like I went to bed and woke up and I had all these science classes, and the next thing I knew, I was in medical school at Howard University. So
Wow.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful.
That's right. That's right. Wow. That's well. And I'm sure you know this that quite a few young folks wind up in the same industry as their parents,
Right.
one way or another, whether they want to or not.
Yeah. And then, I did a year of hematology and oncology fellowship. And, I went to 9 funerals in a year, and
Oh,
I spoke
wow.
at 3 of them. And I felt, there's this thing called detached concern that doctors are supposed to learn, right?
Right.
And I was always attached to all my patients, which is why I was going to all these funerals and speaking at a lot of them. And I just decided that was not the career for me, to take care of kids with cancer. And my last rotation was in the comprehensive sickle cell clinic that my father had started. And when I walked in the door, I said, "Oh, I'm home. This is where I'm going to be." And people would keep bugging me, "When are you going to finish your fellowship?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to finish my fellowship. I'm going to stay right here, and I'm going to take care of these kids that have sickle cell."
Yes.
But unfortunately, now that the patients that I've been taking care of from the time they were born until they turned 18 are now in their 40s, right? And that's like close to the lifespan for people
Right.
with sickle cell. So I'm now going to funerals again. And as a matter of fact, I have a funeral this Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And that is why, everything that we're talking about today is so important, because sickle cell disease is misunderstood and mistreated and neglected. So
Right.
Neglected.
I want to call attention to and raise awareness about.
Right. Right. Because when Craig was telling me your story, I said, "Oh, we need to have her on the show," because one of my neighbors years ago, when I was young, next across the street from us, had sickle cell.
Okay.
And so we were able to. Well, I was able to see firsthand, some of the problems, if you will,
Yeah.
the issues that sickle cell sufferers go through.
Right.
And so,
Right.
so I
And-
thought, no, go
And
ahead.
really, Damon, let me just say that we had 3 graduates from the class of 75 Cass Tech that had sickle cell disease. They
Really?
have all since passed away. Yep. Cynthia Rice, Unil Rayford, and Blossom Davy.
Okay.
All
Okay.
graduated with us, and all were living with sickle cell disease, and all had very accomplished lives. Blossom had a master's degree. Unil was a photographer that did a lot of work for my father, and Cynthia was a physician.
Okay.
Wow, wonderful,
Right.
wonderful.
Right.
Isn't that something? Yeah, I had
Yeah.
an uncle that died from sickle cell disease
Okay.
too. So,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah, he just, as a matter of fact, it's been about 10 years now, but yeah, he was in his 60s.
Okay, so
Yeah, he lived
reasonably well.
But he was in pain for a long,
See,
long,
and see, that's a part of the problem, because people are living longer and longer, but we need for them to live better and better.
Right.
The
Right.
quality
Yeah.
of their lives, even though it's longer, is not the best. And
It's
so,
not the best, right?
yeah,
It wasn't the
and so
best for him.
The primary mission of our organization is to maximize the quality of life of individuals living with sickle cell disease.
Okay.
And they frequently refer to themselves as warriors,
Okay.
which I think is a really appropriate term. So instead of repeatedly saying individuals living with sickle cell disease, I will be saying warriors.
All right.
They are true warriors in my mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. And so, and excuse my ignorance, but so you have a office or a building over on the lodge? Is
Yeah,
that right?
we have a building on the Lodge Freeway. It started off as 3 separate buildings, and my father bought them one at a time, and we own them all free and clear. And people, when they actually come to the building, they say, "Oh, I've been seeing this thing for so long, and I just never really knew what was going on in here." And so then they can come in and see what's going on. And we got $300,000 from community development rehab for new windows and new roof and kind of
Wonderful.
a little makeover. And I had one woman come into the lobby one day and she said, "Yeah, because you all used to be in that raggedy building down the street." This is the building, you
Right,
know.
right, right,
Yeah,
right.
so
And
we're,
so, yeah, and it's just for excuse me, for the people's knowledge. How long have you been there at that location?
okay, now we started, the organization is celebrating its 50th anniversary, but we started off at Kerwood Hospital.
Okay,
Okay, so when exactly my dad moved us to that building, I know I was just a little kid, but I can't tell you the exact date.
okay, okay. But it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Good, good,
Is
good.
sickle cell running your family? Did you
I
have
have
somebody?
sickle cell trait.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
I have the
I
trait
found out.
also.
Okay, I found out I had sickle cell trait when I was 13 and I was doing some volunteer work at the Sickle Cell Association. And so they did a finger poke and tested my blood and it came out positive. And man, the tech was so afraid. He's like, "Oh, I've got to tell Dr. Whitten that, I just told his daughter she has sickle cell trait." And my father said, well, he didn't know because he knew he didn't have sickle cell trait. So it didn't matter whether my mother had it or not because they
Right.
couldn't have kids with sickle cell. But as it turns out, my mother had sickle cell trait and I got it from my mother.
Right,
Oh, okay.
right.
And that's what us. I didn't know I had it until we got married and took the
Right.
blood test.
Yeah, okay.
And now they're not even taking those tests any longer.
Yeah,
You just
and
have to-
people keep talking about they used to do blood tests for sickle cell before you got married, but I don't remember that. I know
Yeah.
what they test you for before you get married is syphilis. I'm just telling you, that's the truth.
Well, no, when we got married, they did the
They
sickle
did
cell
the
test.
sickle cell
Okay,
test.
well, that's
They-
good. That's excellent. No, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, right,
Mhm.
right. Because she, well, like I said, when they found out she had it, they tested me and they said, "Oh, well, you don't have it, so you good. You don't have to worry."
Okay, yeah.
So
That's good.
right,
Yeah, you know why that's really good? Because the way a lot of young Black men find out that they have sickle cell trait is with the birth of the baby that
Birth
has
of the baby.
sickle cell disease.
Mhm.
And that's not the best way to find out.
right,
Because people think it's a disease and people think it makes you sick or either they don't know what it is. So a lot of times, every baby born in the country now is tested for sickle cell disease at birth. You get newborn hemoglobinopathy screening, right?
okay,
And so our organization, we're the ones that call the mother to tell her about the diagnosis. And I'm telling you, it's so often that the mother will say, well, the baby can't have sickle cell because I have the trait, but the father doesn't. And then I'll say, well, how do you know he doesn't have it? And they'll say, because I asked him, Bonk, wrong answer.
yeah, wrong answer.
Or they
Right.
say, I asked his mother. And they can be really adamant that they do not have sickle cell trait. I had one father say to me on the phone, Dr. Shurney, I'm healthy as a horse. So I could not possibly have sickle cell trait. And I told him I'm healthy as a horse too, and I have sickle cell trait.
Right.
So we then bring the dad in because before COVID, we had a CLIA certified laboratory and we test them. And a lot of times, of course, they end up with sickle cell trait, or sometimes there's another trait that can combine with sickle cell trait to cause the disease called thalassemia trait. So we find out he has
Oh,
that.
okay.
Or we find out he doesn't have sickle cell trait, and on occasion we find out that maybe he's not really the father,
Right.
But the other issue is before even we get to that, I see you rolling your eyes, Damon, because that's a big problem.
Yes.
But before we even get to that, just think about the father who is adamant that he doesn't have sickle cell trait, and now he has a baby with sickle cell disease. And there's something going through his mind like, maybe this woman's been cheating on me.
Right,
Yes,
right.
And that
exactly.
kind of thing can destroy a relationship.
Yes, yes.
So there are so many reasons for young people to know their sickle cell trait status,
Yeah.
for all of those reasons, because we don't want anybody to have a baby with sickle cell disease by accident, only
Right.
by
Yes.
choice,
Yes.
knowing the challenges that you might face, because the way I want to wipe sickle cell disease off the face of the earth is with a cure. Not by people who have not getting married because they both have sickle cell trait, or not having a baby because they both have sickle cell trait, or having a baby and getting prenatal diagnosis and terminating the pregnancy because they don't want to have a baby with sickle
Right.
cell.
Yes.
Now, mind you, I think that parents should know what all their options are.
Right.
And I think they have the right to make whatever decision they feel is in the best interest of their family.
Yes.
But we're trying, I don't know any patients with sickle cell disease that wish they were never born.
Right. That's
so-
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I was gonna say this. And this, my comment was talk about things my mother never told me.
Right.
Yeah. I got somebody is asking a question,
Okay.
and they want to know: is it true bone marrow can now help patients?
Absolutely. There's a cure for
Yeah, I
sickle cell
did hear
disease.
that transplant.
It's
Yeah.
called bone marrow transplant, right?
I did read
But
about that.
it's not without risk. And it's just like a blood transfusion. The bone marrow has to match,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
you have to have a donor, and the best donor is a full brother or sister.
Okay.
So a lot of times we have blended families. You have a half brother, and there's no way a half brother or sister is going to match. But the best outcome is with a full match
Full
sibling.
match.
Okay.
Okay.
So only about 13% of patients with sickle cell have a full match
Match.
sibling. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and the other important thing about bone marrow transplant is that the first person that got cured from sickle cell by bone marrow transplant had the transplant because she had leukemia.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing
Right?
that story.
So she
Yes.
had leukemia and sickle cell disease. They did the transplant really for the leukemia, but they cured her sickle cell. And that was back in the 80s,
Right.
because at that time, the benefits of bone marrow transplant weren't outweighed by the risks, in terms of sickle cell. Yes, for cancer, but not for sickle cell.
Yeah.
Okay.
But now we're offering bone marrow transplants to patients with sickle cell, but we still have about a 7% mortality, because if it doesn't match, then you can reject it.
Right.
But the other thing is, because the bone marrow is the life of your immune system, and you have those little pesky lymphocytes in there, the bone marrow can actually reject you.
Oh.
So if you get a kidney transplant, you can reject the kidney, but the kidney can't reject you.
Right.
But if you get a bone marrow transplant, you can reject the bone marrow, and the bone marrow can reject you. So I was talking earlier this morning when I did a talk for Comcast, and I was just saying that that's one of the most difficult conversations I would have with the family, is whether they should go for a bone marrow transplant or not.
Right.
Because there's a 7% mortality risk, right?
Yes.
And so, statistics are really important to doctors.
Yes.
You see lots of patients, but statistics really, when you look at it, are meaningless to families, because if there's a 1 in a million chance that something bad is going to happen, and it happens, then that's 100% for you.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and the other issue is that the family is making a decision for their child. It would be one thing if they're making a decision for themselves and deciding to take that risk.
Right.
But if you're making a decision for their child, and bone marrow transplants work the best the earlier you do them,
Right.
then you're making a decision for a young child that can't even really have any input, then that's a really difficult decision to make.
Right.
And now we have the genetic cure for sickle cell disease. And what is that? It's a bone marrow transplant, but it's a bone marrow transplant using the patient's own bone marrow.
Bone marrow.
Which is genetically modified, right?
Okay.
So, I always talk about how strong and how resilient and how brave the sickle cell warriors are, right? But there's another thing about sickle cell warriors, and that is they are skeptical. They are like, hey, what's going on? And I don't want to be a guinea pig.
Right.
Okay, so now we are using genetically modified bone marrow, right? But nobody wants to eat genetically modified food, okay? But we're talking about genetically modified marrow. So it's a scary thing.
Yes.
It's definitely a research advance, but there are a lot of concerns, and we're a little ways away from being able to say that this is something that is safe and effective that we're really going to offer to patients.
Okay.
So,
Now,
yeah.
I got a couple things for you.
Okay.
Well, do you know Clifton Kirkman?
I took care of Clifton from the time he was born until the time he turned 18.
Okay, yeah, he commented.
Clifton is like a son to me.
Okay, yeah, he said warrior. He said Sickle Cell Warriors is who we are. And my son said he has a good friend that has sickle cell.
Okay.
My friend who asked about the bone marrow, she said she's on the bone marrow donors list. Is that the same list that's used for sickle cell as well?
Well, see, the thing about going to the donor registry is that you're going to get an unrelated donor.
Yeah.
And the chances of an unrelated donor being
Slim.
a perfect match are 0.
Okay.
But a full sibling, there's a 1 out of 4 chance that a full sibling will be a perfect match. But then there's a 1 out of 4 chance that sibling will have sickle cell. So
Yeah.
that's what takes the percentage down even lower.
Right. Okay. So my other question is that how prevalent is sickle cell?
Okay, so we have probably 3,000 patients in Michigan, and 75% of them are in the Detroit and metropolitan area and Ann Arbor. We think that there are about 100,000 people in the United States. but we don't have an official registry, so we don't have an official count, but that's the estimation.
Okay.
But about 1 out of 400 African Americans have sickle cell.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And we always knew that it was it predominantly affects
In
us.
Afro American.
Yes.
Yeah, but do you know, everybody knows that, but do you know why?
No, I don't.
Okay, so having sickle cell trait. Okay, so if you get hemoglobin genes from your parents, you get one on the sperm from your father and one on the egg from your mother, right? If you
Right.
get one sickle gene and one normal gene, you have the trait. And the
Right.
trait is basically a carrier state. You do need to stay well hydrated and be conditioned for exercise and be careful at high altitudes. But basically, people with sickle cell trait don't have health problems. So I've been skiing in Colorado and scuba diving. I've never had a problem from my sickle cell trait. Now, if you get a sickle cell gene from both parents, then you have the disease.
Right.
Okay. Now, having sickle cell trait protects you from malaria. Okay. So in areas like sub-Saharan Africa, where malaria is endemic, then people would just die who didn't have sickle cell trait. So the disease came about by a genetic mutation, an accident in the genes, right? It happens just randomly. But when those mutations occur, they get acted on by Mother Nature. And if that mutation gives you a selective advantage, then it's like survival of the fittest.
Right.
So if you have sickle cell trait, you're more likely to survive malaria. And then once you survive, you have children, and you have children with other people who have sickle cell trait, and that's how you get sickle cell disease.
Yeah.
So you really see sickle cell disease wherever you see malaria, right? And that's not just in Africa, right? So that's around the Mediterranean. So basically, you see sickle cell disease everywhere except Northern European countries and Australia, right? And so, but since we live in such a Eurocentric world, it gets phrased that way. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
But now you might say that, well, we don't have malaria in the United States anymore. So why do we have sickle cell disease? And whenever you see sickle cell disease in a place where there isn't malaria, it's always by migration, right? And so the migration that caused Black people to have sickle cell disease was the transatlantic slave trade. So when they brought us over here to build this country for free and then tried to pretend like it never happened, we brought our sickle cell genes with us. And so that's why it is quote unquote a Black disease.
Okay.
It's not just a Black disease, but it is in fact a Black disease. And the fact that it is a Black disease is a great problem because of institutional racism.
Right.
So everybody's ears are all now perked up because of the pandemic, about healthcare disparity.
Yes.
But adults living with sickle cell disease are the face of healthcare disparity in this country.
Yes.
So that's what we're trying to work on.
Right. And it always comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Always comes back to that.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So what I want to do is I want to give you opportunity to get into because September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month. Is that what it is?
Right.
Okay. So I want you to get into the things you got planned for awareness and what the folks can do to do their part to help.
Right. So the main thing that we have planned, we initially were going to have a walk on the Avenue of Fashion up there on Livernois, because I wanted to bring some attention to that area because there are a lot of Black-owned businesses. Right. But with the variants popping up and everything, I just felt like it would not be responsible to do that, to bring a whole bunch of people together. I had 1,100 people at my first walk. So we can bring some folks together.
Yes.
So we decided we had to go 100% virtual. So we decided that the walk was going to be throughout the entire month. And what we're doing is you go to our website, you register, you get a t-shirt. The t-shirt says Sickle Cell Matters, the pain is real. And the reason it says the pain is real is because one of the biggest problems our adults face is that even though the hallmark of sickle cell disease is unpredictable, indescribable pain, when they go to the emergency room in pain, they get treated as if they're drug seeking, as if they're drug addicts, as if they want narcotics to sell, and that's not the case. So that's why we want to emphasize the fact that the pain is real. Yeah. So if you sign up for the walk, then you'll get your t-shirt. And then what we want you to do is all through the month of September, we want you to move as you choose. Okay, so you can walk, you can run, you can get on a treadmill, you can get on one of those scooters that they have around the city. You can get, oh, that's my son. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I have to call him back. Let me silence my phone. Okay, so you can get on one of those scooters. I was talking to a young mom who said she and her daughter were going to blow bubbles. I have a mother that really likes to cook, so she's going to be in the kitchen cooking with her t-shirt on. I like to garden, so
Right.
maybe somebody might be out in the garden. But the other thing is that in 2020, I came up with this dance or hustle called the sickle slide. And if you
Okay.
go to YouTube and you search Sickle Slide 2020, then
Mhm.
you will see me in my basement in my socks doing the sickle slide.
All right,
Because
Wanda.
some people will actually do the sickle slide and send it in.
Okay, Dr. Shurney, I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'm with you.
Okay.
And I love
Okay.
to hustle too.
Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's basically the plan for Sickle Cell Awareness Month.
Okay, great. And anybody out there who wants to register, I do have the flyer posted to my Facebook page, on my page and the Things My Mother Never Told Me page, and as well as we have your page tagged in the feed so they can see that as well.
Okay. Great.
And go out and register. And we asking that you do that because
Yeah.
we need, I think everybody that's listening on here knows somebody that's a sickle cell warrior. I believe everybody on here knows at least one person. So we need to get out and do our part to help get
Raise
something done.
awareness,
Yeah,
yeah.
raise awareness, get something done.
Yeah. Sure.
Now you had mentioned about and I think I know the answer, but I'm going to ask you because the question was asked.
Okay.
There is no sickle cell registry, correct? Or is there?
Well, there are a couple of registries, but they don't have enough patients on it. The National SCGAA has a registry called Get Connected, and there are about 7,000 patients on it, but we have 100,000 warriors. So it's still a work in progress. The CDC is working on a registry. The American Society of Hematology is working on a registry, but getting all the patients on has been a problem.
And how would one get on that registry?
Well, to get on Get Connected, you just go to Get Connected and then you sign in.
Okay.
The CDC, I don't know what their outreach mechanism is for getting people on the registry.
Okay. So yeah, because that's the question. Somebody want to know, how would you get on the sickle cell registry?
It's called Get Connected, and you can go on and register.
Okay. So what I want to do real quick is I told you before we got started, we always ask our guests this question: things my mother never told me, and so we want to get that in, and then we'll get back to the business at hand. So is there something that you learned on your journey that your mother didn't prepare you for, and you wish she would have?
My answer to that question is going to be very broad. Okay.
Okay.
And the thing that I feel that my mother and father didn't prepare me for was how hard life was going to be and how many challenges I was going to face.
Yeah.
Now, they raised me to be strong and to kind of overcome challenges and to always look for a different way. If you can't do it this way, then try that way and
Right.
never give up. But I don't know, it might have been, as a young person, it might have been too overwhelming to know ahead of time how challenging life is.
Yeah.
But life has been extremely challenging, and I kind of wish I had known that, that, oh God, this is gonna be hard,
I know. Some little tidbits I know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I know I had a picture of Huey P. Newton on my wall.
Okay.
When I was growing up. And for me, when I was like a young teenager, and for me, I had him up there because he was fine. I knew a little bit about the Black Panthers, but not much. But my
Right.
mother kept saying, well, when the revolution comes, and then we get Donald Trump in office, and then you think, oh, here comes the revolution.
That's right. That's right.
And so, yeah. But she
Well-
did tell me about that. You have to be ready to live when the revolution comes.
Right. And unlike what Gil Scott Heron said, it will be televised. We didn't got to that point. It will be televised.
Right.
So that's good. I mean, that's a good thing because our young folks, my niece, my daughter, son, they tell us that adulting is hard. It's too much. It's too much you got to do.
Right.
Yeah. So and it is.
It's a lot. It is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot, especially today. It's crazy. So I want to ask you a question that's totally unrelated to this. Do you know Tyrone Bradley?
Okay, so Tyrone Bradley, the DJ?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw him, your Facebook friend. No, he's a friend of mine.
Okay.
He was on here a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so, and he's one of my lodge brothers. So
All right. And what was he talking about when he was on?
DJing
Oh, okay. All
about
right.
the
Yeah.
trials and the
Okay.
stuff he
Well,
went through. Yeah,
he's definitely a master DJ.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
a good dancer.
yeah.
Oh yes,
Exactly,
excellent dancer.
exactly. Yeah,
Good ballroom dancer.
right. Yeah, so
Okay,
he.
I
Yeah,
forgot that's where you.
yeah. She
That's one
said
of your
ballroom dancing.
Yep,
ballroom.
When I
yep. I used to go over to Firewater, and I'd be up in his booth asking him to play stuff and taking his classes and all of that.
Right.
Trying to learn how to Chicago step, but I never really could get
Me
it.
either. You
That was
too.
too hard for me. That
It
offbeat,
was.
Well, when they look, the first time I saw Chicago stepping, they was just walking. They wasn't to no beat. They were just walking around on the dance floor. Then they decided to get a beat in something. It's just a whole new
Look, I
thing.
tried to get my mother to teach me how to do the bop.
Yeah,
You know what
right.
I'm saying? When
Yeah, old school.
I'm looking
bop.
at her going,
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Mom,
Yeah.
shoot, I didn't
Right.
know you could do that, but she be
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I wanted to ask the question too.
Yeah.
How's the sickle cell patients doing with this COVID?
Well, in Michigan, the patients that I know about are doing reasonably well.
Okay.
Some of them have been tested positive and been asymptomatic. Some have had a few symptoms, and then there have been a few that have been really sick. One that I know of for sure had to go back into the hospital 3 times. She had pneumonia, and that's one of the classic things that you see in COVID and sickle cell is something called acute chest syndrome, which is a kind of a form of pneumonia. But overall, I think that our patients have done reasonably well.
okay,
And the SCDAA national office and that committee that you mentioned, the Medical and Research Advisory Committee, we've done a lot of work on informing doctors about how to take care of patients with sickle cell disease with COVID, and also talking to parents about how to handle their children and all the protective things that we need to do, and writing letters so that they could delay going back to school because they're immunocompromised.
right,
And there's information about the vaccine and all of that is on the website. And the Medical and Research Advisory Committee, which we call MERAC, is a committee of people from all around the world, not just all around the country, and really experts in every field.
Okay.
So I feel like, we're putting out really good information for patients and for physicians.
right. And so is there? Can you share with us the recommendation for sickle cell patients to whether they should take the vaccine?
They absolutely should take the vaccine, and if you want to know which vaccine to take, it's the first one you can get your hands on.
Okay,
Now, the question that's still out is about the booster.
right.
Because there's some talk of maybe getting the booster early or getting the booster in 8 months, and maybe immunocompromised people should get the booster early. And although patients with sickle cell disease are immunocompromised, it's not to the extent of someone who's on chemotherapy for cancer or something like that. So, but that's still, they still haven't made that final decision on that. So we're still working on that.
Okay. Yeah, I just was wondering, because sometimes, well, you in the business of giving out information, so I won't even say the other thing, because some folks won't say one way or another, regardless of what they believe to be true.
Yeah.
They won't.
No.
They won't say it out loud.
Yeah, well, everybody has a right to decide what goes into their body.
Right.
But I got it. My mom is 92. She got it. I just think, get it,
Right.
I'm more scared of COVID than I am of the vaccine.
Me too.
We were too.
And I remember when I was going to elementary school every year, I had to get vaccinated for
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
stuff.
You remember that gun?
Yes.
Man, that thing
We still
scared me
got
to
the
death.
mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the sugar cube better.
And the sugar cube.
Polio. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
I
right.
remember that too. That was the good part.
Yeah, that was the good
Yeah,
part.
we didn't mind that one. Okay, so again, I want to stress that the folks need to go out and register on that site to help, to do your part and help, because everybody's running around, registering for all this other stuff, but for something that's almost wholly affecting us, we need to really get out there and support.
Damon, the thing, I'm gonna cut you off. The thing is that if you see pink, anytime you see pink, you think about breast cancer, right?
Yes, you
Right,
do.
right.
Yeah, but there's nothing that actually makes you think about sickle cell, and people need to think more about sickle cell. And part of the problem is that 1 out of 4 women get breast cancer.
Yes.
So there's so many people that have an immediate connection to breast cancer.
Right.
I'm a breast cancer survivor. But the thing is, in terms of sickle cell, we don't get the same kind of public attention. And one of the things that I say is people don't know much about sickle cell, and what they do know is wrong. So if you register for the walk, then when you get your t-shirt, it's going to come with a little index card that has 5 facts about sickle cell and things that people, really don't understand. That our patients are not drug addicts, that you don't die by the time you're 21, that there are some people that live well with sickle cell, and you need to know your trait status so that you know whether you're at risk for having a child with sickle cell. Right. So you'll get that little information. We want you to share that information. Yes. I have on my t-shirt from 3 years ago, Sickle Cell Matters t-shirt. And, when I go to Eastern Market every Saturday, I either wear a Castech t-shirt or I wear a Sickle Cell t-shirt, because I talk to everybody. I'm in the line at Home Depot, and a young woman is ringing me up, and I'm like, do you know whether you have sickle cell trait or not? And then sometimes people look at me like I'm crazy, and so I let them go. But other times they get really interested, and I give them my card and tell them to come get tested and all that kind of stuff. So,
and these t-shirts are a big thing too. You're right. They'll come up to you and they will.
Right. Yeah, I get a lot of attention from that Castech t-shirt too.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna do like you though. Just wear a particular t-shirt every, on a specific day, and go out there and spread that.
And once you get that t-shirt, another good day to wear the t-shirt is on June 19th.
Oh, Juneteenth.
June 19th is World Sickle Cell Day. In addition to being Juneteenth.
Okay.
And guess what else June 19th is?
Your birthday.
That's right.
How'd I know that?
Yep. So when you get your t-shirt, put it on, move as you choose, send us a tape, a brief video, or just a photograph that shows that you're moving. We're going to put it on our website, and then wear it again on June 19th. Okay?
And so
I'm going to wear it all September, at least one day a week.
Okay, that'll work.
Yeah, because how long does it take to get the shirt? Because
the shirts are supposed to come in tomorrow.
Okay.
And so if people start registering, we're going to ask some people. We have teams. It would be really nice if you could set up a team, and then we could have the team captain come and pick up all the shirts, and then maybe the team could get together and take a group picture.
Okay.
But other than that, the shirts will be mailed out.
Okay.
And then we just have to get it to you before the end of September, so you have enough time to, but people, they tend to do things at the last minute,
Right.
That's going to be a little bit of a problem. If you don't register until September 15th, then we got to get you your shirt, and we still want you to get it worn. So I'm really encouraging. What are you doing right now? After you get off Facebook, just register for the walk.
That's right.
I'm going to look at the website in about an hour, and I'm going to see how many people registered for the walk.
Okay.
Well, you registered me.
Okay, so you're already done. Okay,
yes.
I'm already done.
That's good. Okay, excellent.
Well, I got to give a shout out to Craig again, because he texted me early this morning. We were out on the golf course, and he said, I need you to go out to the site, click on that link, and just look at it. And we had talked at our picnic a couple weeks ago, and I said that I was going to register, so I went ahead and registered us.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do right now is that I don't know how many people out there listening right now, but I know Dr. Esther was out there, Reverend Craig. If you out there, Doc, we need to try to get the church to register.
Well, that's what I've been trying to do. When we were having the walk on the Avenue of Fashion, you say you're from Triumph, or
No, New Prospect.
New Prospect. Yeah. So I had, had some communication with the minister, but I was hoping that it seems like after the walk moved off and became virtual, they kind of lost a little interest in the cause. The cause is still there, even though the walk isn't on Livernois.
Right.
So I'm hoping, so I'm just hoping that people will still be interested, and that there can be some kind of announcement. I don't know whether you're doing church virtually or whatever, but if we can just let people know, you could have a Triumph team, and that would be great.
Don't say Triumph. We New Prospect.
Oh, New Prospect. You have on the brain. Because that's another church that I'm trying to get to.
Right.
New Prospect.
Right. And I was about to say, and Triumph can have a team too.
Yeah.
I would like for all of those mega churches to have teams.
Right.
We really make a difference. That would take sickle cell disease to the level of breast cancer.
Right.
Just support from those churches.
Yes.
And I'm gonna get my girl, and we're gonna go out there and look at that hustle you got going on and get them t-shirts.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna try to do that. I stopped hustling a little while ago, but we'll see. Yeah. We'll see if I can try to do that one. I don't think that'll hurt me.
No, it won't. It's pretty, it's kind of like the Cupid Shuffle. It's pretty easy.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Craig,
Y'all-
Craig keeps saying it's hard, but that's just because Craig can't dance.
I didn't want to be the one to say that.
Okay. But he said it. He has said it repeatedly to me.
Oh, okay, okay,
So,
yeah. Well, I used to dance a little bit. We used to actually teach hustle and ballroom.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I got lazy.
he was with that Tyrone crew too.
Yeah.
Tyrone was
Okay.
that too.
Yeah, I got
All right.
lazy.
So are you guys old school roller skaters too?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
All right.
I don't roller skate.
But we know a whole lot of old school
Yeah,
roller skaters
yeah,
though. Yes,
yeah.
we do.
And a lot of the roller skaters are ballroomers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right. So
Exactly.
without a doubt. So we'll see what we can do about that.
Okay.
For sure, we want to try to at least get a few people to sign up and show support.
Yes, we do.
But we don't want a few people. We want a lot of people.
I know.
Well, I said at least a few.
No.
But we want a lot. We want a
Whole
lot.
lot.
A whole lot.
We're on a whole lot.
We want a
That's
whole.
right.
We want.
That's
we,
what we're here for. A whole lot.
we want everybody.
Everybody.
Everybody. So aside from the anything else that you got coming up that the people need to know about?
Well, we have like ongoing educational sessions, for newborn screening. So when the mother first finds out that the baby has sickle cell disease, and it used to be that we did them one-on-one and I would do them in person, but now I'm doing them virtually. So that means everybody can join no matter where they are to learn more about sickle cell disease. But our main event for the month of September is actually the walk.
The walk. Okay. Right. So we share that information. What I like to do is when guests have come on the show, if they have events coming in the future, I like to get that information and try to share that as well to see if we can get some drum up some interest as well, because the one thing that our community suffers from is lack of information, and then after that we suffer from lack of action after we get the information.
Right.
So we want to try to do something to curtail both of those.
Yeah.
Good.
None of us think that we have it, like you said.
Yeah.
We don't think,
Right. Somebody else. And it comes as a shock to the family when they get that diagnosis.
Well, the thing that I'll say is that when I was young, in my younger years, I think up until high school, sickle cell was talked about all the time.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like it just disappeared as far as in the conversation.
Yeah, that's really true. And I don't really understand exactly how that worked. I know that one of the things was that my father had taken an old school bus and he had converted it into a mobile unit, a mobile sickle cell testing unit.
Yes.
And the guy who drove it, his name was Irving. And Irving drove the bus. He also was the one that did the finger poke to get the blood, and he ran the test. And what would happen is while they were running the test, you waited outside the bus. And if you had sickle cell trait, you got right back on the bus. In the back, they had a little, how they used to have those slides that would pop down automatically and there'd be a tape and you would lift.
Right. Uh-oh, you just froze up on me. It froze.
To do
There
is
we go.
bring that bus back. Because people will say, whatever happened to that bus your father had? Because
Right.
just having that, just getting a vehicle and wrapping it, and just having our logo and know your trait status. And then we can travel to churches and we can travel, to schools, and we can sometimes we'll be able to just go online, because ever since 1987, people have been tested and we can tell you what your sickle cell test result is,
Right.
And then if we can't find it, then we can do a finger poke and we can give you a free test and let you know and what your trait status is. And so that's something that's in the works. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's a great idea. Because at the end of the day, we lazy.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you can come to us with the means, and we're more likely
Right.
to get it done.
But one of the things that's really been on my mind and on my heart is really, it's a national problem, the fact that the day you turn 18 or the day you become an adult with sickle cell disease, your life really changes, because there aren't enough blood specialists or hematologists or primary care docs that are, number one, capable of, and number two, willing to take care of patients with sickle cell disease.
Yeah.
And the comprehensive sickle cell clinic at the University Health Center for adults is severely under-resourced, and so I am really trying to work toward establishing an adult program,
Okay.
for adult warriors where they can come, and we'd have a same-day treatment center where, you can get your IV started by a compassionate nurse who knows how to start an IV, who knows you, who believes your pain, and who understands the high doses of narcotics. These patients have been on opioids since they were 2 and 3 years old.
Yeah.
And it's normal to develop tolerance. And tolerance is very different from addiction.
Right.
Addiction are people that want to get high. These are people that want pain relief. And I have to kind of some way give it to the ER docs that sometimes they're afraid to give those high doses. They think they're going to kill the patient.
Right.
But a lot of times the ER doc will say, well, I just did labs on you and your labs are normal, so you couldn't possibly be in pain. Well, there's no lab that tells you about pain.
Right.
The treatment, a lot of our patients are getting treatment in the emergency room because we don't have places for them to go. And then they're getting poor care because that's the most expensive place. And you don't get continuity of care when you go to the emergency room.
Right.
So we need a true medical home for adults living with sickle cell disease. And because 75% of them in Michigan live in the Detroit metropolitan area and Ann Arbor, if we can establish a center like that, we can really make a difference. And maybe we can spread out using some telehealth, but it's going to be a process.
Yeah.
And Governor Whitmer has put $6.7 million in her proposed budget to help with that endeavor. But, of course, she's a Democrat, but the House and the Senate are controlled by Republicans. So we have to see whether that's going to get through. But if it does, that'll be helpful. And then we have a champion, Ronnie Peterson, who's been really working. We're going to have a sickle cell license plate, a sickle cell awareness license plate. We hope to be able to launch that in January of 2022. We hope to have a family on it, and then it'll just say sickle cell awareness, and the plate will sell for $35, and we get $25 for every plate that we sell. So hopefully that'll be coming out. And in addition to that, he's trying to help me to raise money to get this medical home for adult warriors.
Right. Cool.
So that's something that I'm really focused on right now.
Right. Well, on that Whitmer thing and the in the Republican-led legislature, I hope they don't make this a political game, which is so hard for them not to, because I just saw where they are trying to limit her ability to use the emergency alert system. Mm-hmm. Yeah. which is crazy.
Well, they just want to block everything that she tries to do. Yeah. It doesn't matter what it is, and it's not that they don't care about sickle cell. It's just that they don't want to support anything that she puts out there.
Right.
They want the next governor to be Republican again, so they can poison a whole bunch of people with
Absolutely.
the war.
Right.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you another question about the pain thing. Has there been any studies done on medical marijuana use in sickle cell?
There's a bunch of studies, and they started off in mice, and now they're in humans. And the main person is a Dr. Gupta. And yes, medical marijuana is helpful to relieve pain in sickle cell disease. And you can get a medical marijuana card. And the main thing that I say to warriors about marijuana is, number one, don't smoke it. Use the edibles because you have to protect your lungs. And number two, don't use it every day recreationally. Use it when you have pain, because I mean, the young brothers come up to the SCGA, they're just reeking of marijuana, and they're not in pain, they're just high, so, and, chronic use of marijuana has a negative impact on your cognition, and you kind of sit around thinking everything is okay, and you're not motivated and that kind of thing. So that's the scariest thing for me about medical marijuana. Okay. If you could really just use it to treat a pain episode and not just use it all the time, then it would really be helpful. And it has been proven that it does help with sickle cell pain.
Right.
Wonderful.
Did you have anything else for me?
No, that was it. My thing was the COVID. Just like you say, telling them all to still wear their masks in public. Wash your hands.
So is there anything else that you want to share that you haven't, or that you want to reiterate?
Well, I guess that I really haven't told you exactly what sickle cell disease is. Of course, it's a blood disease. It's a hemoglobinopathy, right?
Hemoglobinopathy.
But the problem is those red blood cells take on an unusual shape. They're shaped like a farmer's sickle, and they're sticky and they're fragile. So they block blood vessels. And of course, if you block a blood vessel, then that part of the body isn't going to get oxygen. And when a part of the body doesn't get oxygen, then it hurts. So that's the pain. But also when your vital organs don't get oxygen, then they get damaged. So sickle cell affects every organ in the body. And so we think about the pain all the time, but we don't always think about the anemia, the low blood that comes from the rapid breakdown of the red blood cells. And that causes fatigue. And then sometimes that causes depression, and then that causes isolation, and it kind of goes into a vicious cycle. So I want people to know that there are two major problems: the blockage and the breakdown, or the hemolysis and the vaso-occlusion, and that's the pathophysiology of sickle cell disease. And I want you to know that the future is bright. There are a lot of clinical trials going on. We have 3 new medications, 2 in 1 month in November. We had 2 new medications. Okay. But if the patients don't have doctors, how are they going to get the medications, right?
Right.
So the future is bright, but the present is really problematic,
Yes.
So come on out, support us, and help us to maximize the quality of life of sickle cell warriors and their families.
Great.
Amen.
So I do have a question. Margaret wants to know, is there a chapter or division in the Jackson or Lansing area?
Yes, in fact, we have a statewide program, and our Lansing patient advocate's name is Angela McCrary. And if you go on our website, you can get her contact information. Okay. So we have patient advocates strategically placed in all the places where you have a lot of Black folks. So Kalamazoo, Muskegon, Benton Harbor, Lansing, Saginaw, Jackson, so we've got you covered, And if you're by any chance listening from out of state, you can go to the national website and click on your state, and it'll show you where the member organizations are.
Okay, great,
wonderful,
great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and Clifton said, "Tell it, Dr. Shurney." And then he said, I forget. I don't even know what this part was because I wasn't looking. It's a problem. It's so very much needed, and I'm sure. Yeah. Well, you've talked about a lot of stuff that's so very much needed. So he could have been talking about a number of things. So we appreciate the work that you're doing, and we're gonna do our part to try to help out and get the word spread. Because when I thought about it, because it took me back to, again, the people I knew, excuse me, back in my youth. Right. Who suffer from sickle cell, and I remember there was one gentleman, the pain that he was in.
Right. Yeah.
And my uncle, he isolated himself too.
Yes. Yeah, that can be a big problem.
He isolated himself.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah, warriors don't want to share with other people the fact that they have sickle cell, and it's not because they're ashamed of it. It's because they don't want people to treat them differently. Yeah. They don't want people to feel sorry for them. You know, so that's that's a huge issue. That isolation. Yeah.
Right. Mm. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and I'll do one last shout out. I know Tina read it in your bio, but we always like to recognize our HBCU graduates.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll tell you that I turned down a full scholarship. I was at University of Michigan right after the BAM strikes, so they're looking for Black people, looking for women. And so they offered me a full academic scholarship. And I said, "No, Dad, I think I want to go to Howard." And he said, "Oh, good." And started writing checks, He went to Meharry at a time where that was practically the only place you could go, So for me to want to go to Howard, and I will tell you that is one of the single best decisions I ever made in my life. And my best friends now are from Howard University College of Medicine.
All right.
We have a lot of, I guess,
being in a place where you belong and where people think you belong and don't think you got there by some other mechanism,
Right.
It was really, and just the professors. I just think that I'm a very different doctor coming out of Howard than I would have been coming out of University of Michigan.
It's no doubt. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt because you have a concentration. Mm-hmm. We'll use that word. or as my man said, a particular set of skills.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so we gonna let you go, but again, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing and talking about this real important issue. I mean, it's very important in our community, and we're gonna wear those T-shirts and take those pictures. And so do we put them on your website, the pictures?
Yeah. So what'll happen is you're gonna send them to us by email.
Okay.
And it's right, all of that is on the website, but info@scgaami.org.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do a collage, and then we're going to do some video clips, and then we're going to do some highlights from our sponsors. I'm going to have a whole bunch of people in my backyard doing the sickle slide with social distancing, and we'll have on masks, and we're going to put that video up, you know, and so we'll have a few words from my board chair, Prosecutor Kim Worthy, who adopted a child with sickle cell disease. So she truly made an informed decision about having a child with sickle cell disease, and her daughter is doing really well. And so, yeah, so it's going to be good. You know, one of the things, when I had 1,100 people at my first walk, it was mostly warriors and their family and friends. So it didn't raise much awareness. So part of the reason for trying to get up there on the Avenue of Fashion was, number one, to bring attention to that area, because COVID was devastating all businesses. But in addition to that, to get some of the general community, you know, not just people that already know, you know, and that's why we're putting in the little card, the little informational card that'll dispel some of the myths that are out there about sickle cell. So please do register, wear your shirt, share the facts with people, you know, and you see young people, talk to them about knowing their trait status, the importance of knowing their trait status, and that we're there to help. You know, if you know anybody with sickle cell disease that doesn't know us, tell them about us, because we offer emergency financial support, you know, and all kinds of services. So, you know, just keep us in mind, and we really appreciate this opportunity.
Will do. Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see if we can get back together in a few months to recap, if you will.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Craig knows where I live.
Yeah, I kind of got a way to get in contact with him too. All right. Thank you so much. Keep doing that good work.
Okay.
Yes. All right.
Take care.
Look forward to wearing red. Bye-bye. I love her.